Hi everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today, and we're going to be doing a full moon in Pisces video. So I hope everybody's well, and that this full moon energy has brought you a lot of release from, the frustration that Mars retrograde has brought us over the last couple of months, and of course Mercury going direct as well within the last 2 weeks. That we've really had an opportunity to release a lot of tension that's been building up for us. So I'm super excited to be doing this video with us today, and I've just got to get myself going a little bit in terms of, really feeling into the energy. As always, I'm super excited that I get this opportunity to, as I said, to tune into energy, vibration, the nature of what the cosmos is reflecting to us, and how we are interacting with that, and to offer us something that allows us to digest, what we are currently experiencing, and hopefully we get some value out of it. Hopefully we're able to find a sense of purpose in whatever it is that we are doing within our daily activities. So where do we begin? I mean, a couple of big things have actually been taking place. Let's talk about Mars retrograde, right? So today's the 27th of August, and of course Mars is stationary direct. And this is a big deal for us because, of course, Mars has been moving through Capricorn since March, and then it went into Aquarius. Mars went over the South Node, and then it retrograded back over the South Node, back into Capricorn. And so we've been dealing a lot with this energy. And, the storyline for us, I feel, with this Mars retrograde has a lot to do with, or the imagery I would like to use instead of explaining it is like this. Before Mars was retrograde, we had a certain trajectory, okay? We were going a certain way. And then Mars went retrograde, and we started to begin recognizing, well, firstly, we started slowing down, and it opened up with the art of doing nothing. Remember, if you go back to, I'm not entirely sure which video it was, but it was a full moon. And I said that this was about going back to your inner space, going back to your garden, and really just spending some time there cultivating that place inside of yourself, looking at all of the things that come up for you, recognizing all of the patterns of behavior that you feel don't actually support you, in whatever goals and agendas and, desires that you have. How was the current feeling inside of you? How was your current actioning ability supporting your progress? So with Mars being retrograde during this period of time, it really pulled us into ourselves, and it said, what do we want? And how do we align ourselves with something that really gives us clarity and movement, actually, in a specific direction? Now, of course, Mars didn't really show up as an energy in which we felt like we needed to action stuff. It was more, again, as a deep internal process. So for many of us, which I suspect, and I'm super curious to hear your comments, so if you're watching this movie, if you're watching this video after the fact, then I encourage you to share your story, with us in the comments. I'm always, excited to listen to other people's perspectives and how they're experiencing it. I'm sure other people like to read comments as well. But anyway, this energy allowed us to recenter ourselves. It allowed us to come back to a place and say, that's the direction that I want to go in. And well, actually, I don't even feel like it was like that. It was more along the lines of like, this is not working for me. This is not bringing me fulfillment. I don't feel like I'm making any headway in this direction. So, Mars was in Aquarius during this period of time, and we went through a couple of solar eclipses, 2 solar eclipses, 1 lunar eclipse, and we had a lot of shifting taking place while Mars was in Aquarius, right? We had a lot of liberation. Liberation came in the form of insight. It came in the form of feeling suffocated. Suffocation, I think, was a big deal for this Mars in Aquarius energy. And, you know, that that really brought us to a place within inside of ourselves that said, well, what do we want to do with our time? And I think this was a big deal. What do we do? What do we want to do with our time? You know, how do we feel that we want to invest in going forward with whatever we are excited about, I suppose. And we kept on building onto that. You know, we kept on working at that quite a lot. And for all of us, at some point, we had certain aha moments, we had certain breakdowns, we had certain big emotional releases. And, you know, progressively we became aware of a certain perspective that we felt was going to be healthy, that when Mars was going direct, we could integrate, right? And so here we are with Mars just about to go direct, and it's sitting at 28 degrees Capricorn. And you know, these two energies, the energy of Mars and the energy of Capricorn, they don't like to play, right? Capricorn really wants a lot of structure in place. It wants to put boundaries in place and wants to say, hey, this is where I feel comfortable. This is where I feel comfortable. And it's all, you know, relative to your own inner place. And Mars wants to say, I don't really want to act with thinking. I don't want to assert myself and have this mental trip, this overlay on it. So I'm just going to impulsively move in a direction and let's see what happens through environmental feedback, you know? And of course, this brings us to this interesting dynamic between Mars and Capricorn, because again, Mars wants that freedom and Capricorn says, no, I want to close down here. I want to bring things close to me, right? So there can be a lot of like frustration. There can be a lot of like, oh, I don't feel like I'm moving anywhere, right? So with this direct motion about to take place, I think the first thing that many of you felt was a sense of, things are seeming to be moving ahead a little bit right now. I know for me personally, over the last month, it's been emotionally draining because I have personally taken down all of the way in which rating orations was defined before. You know, the whole entire trajectory of what that meant. That cycle's ended for me, you know. And there's a new cycle taking place in you know, the direction I want to go. And it's been a lot of hard work, you know, reorganizing, thinking about how I want to take my ideas forward, and a lot of reshuffling, reorientation. Where do I want to place my energy into? Where do I want to nurture? You know, what is taking energy away from me that I could be placing in a different area and cultivating more of what I want to do. And over the last, you know, when this full moon was actually taking place, we had to deal with switching our server hosts. We had to deal with changing our website completely. The builder that we were using for our website was crashing all the time. It was broken. I mean, it was an absolute nightmare. And it was just so much chaos. I mean, even our emails and stuff, they were completely, wasn't receiving any emails because the emails are linked to the website and the website is down. And of course, this is an environment that, you know, there's unknown water. So the Mars retrograde, you know, brought us a lot of patience as well. You know, we really had to be patient. We really had to recognize, you know, this is my own personal story that I'm sharing with you over here with Mars in Capricorn. We had to persevere. We had to allow ourselves to recognize that one step at a time, very healthy approach to how Mars and Capricorn must work, very, very diligent, one step at a time, you know, move that direction, see how it works, analyze it a little bit. Okay, next direction. You know, that's how you work with Mars and Capricorn. It's slow, progressive change. And today, funnily enough, right, wake up this morning and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to approach the situation. And we managed to resolve quite a lot of things, you know, and it feels really good. It feels like a turning point. And you can really feel that Mars retrograde energy beginning to release. It was actually a pretty wonderful thing. And I, for one, have definitely started to feel a lot more enthusiasm again around certain things because it's just the nature of what Mars and Capricorn can do. If you feel that you're blocked in a certain area or you're moving in a certain direction, you don't feel comfortable with it, or you're losing a sense of desire in that, you have to ask yourself the question: is this really what you feel you would like to do? Capricorn is a reflective energy in its sense. So this is a time with that Mars retrograde or Mars going direct energy to really recognize that we've all had a lot of adjustments, a lot of reorientation, a lot of reshuffling. And now it's time to set sail. It's time to allow this new path to progressively become the experience that is, for the next Mars cycle. And of course, Mars is very close to Pluto as well. So, we're only right at the beginning of what Mars conjunct Pluto really represented to us. When Mars and Pluto make a connection to each other in the zodiac wheel and the cycle of growth, we can always feel a deep tense of evolutionary dynamics occur for us. So Mars is literally right by Pluto over there. It's 10 degrees, 10, 11 degrees off. So we're starting a new evolutionary cycle, and we need to get rid of a lot of stuff, a lot of baggage, a lot of old cycles. So it's not a coincidence that we have a full moon take place for us in Pisces, and that full moon really reflect to us that this is a completion cycle. This is an ending. This is, okay, I'm outgrown this dynamic. And in different ways, you could have experienced things outgrowing for you, feeling that this is where you need to say, okay, this is what I don't want to do anymore. This is a new perspective that I wish to take. However it is that it landed up for you, notice that within the last 3 to 4 days, there was some big changes that you made, that you felt that you need to make. And it was a closing of a door. It was an acknowledgement of saying, okay, we're finished with this right now, and it's time to move into a new direction. And you can feel that. I mean, if you have a look at the chart and you see that Pluto is at 19 degrees and Venus is at 18 degrees Libra, when you look at the nature of Libra and you look at the nature of Capricorn, this is the context of expectations, right? Capricorn says, this is the boundary. This is how we want to define ourselves. And Libra says, okay, well, I'll meet that here. So where Venus and Libra has been moving through, it's been, okay, well, how do I wish to meet this experience? Do I want to fulfill these expectations? Do I not want to fulfill these expectations? What do I expect within inside of myself relative to my own needs, relative to what is essential for me? And you ask yourself that question. And if Mars and Capricorn said to you, I didn't feel the pulse here, it's simply just saying thanks very much, and it's time to move on. It's time to take the next storyline, So I hope that many of you that are out there didn't experience a loss of a relationship, or if you did feel a lot of tension within your relationship. Hopefully there can be some sort of resolution around, communicating your needs, because of course this is a very big deal. Venus helps us understand that it's our own needs that we externalize, and it's impossible for those needs to be met by other people. So what we've got to do is we've got to be very clear about how those needs operate. And when we acknowledge our own needs in this process, that's when we can create effective communication. So with the square between Pluto and Venus at this stage, of course, we're going through what is called a crisis in consciousness square. And this is where the evolutionary growth of awareness between these two planets, Venus and Pluto, okay, in this case, has reached one of liberation, okay, right? Liberation. And liberation comes through, I want to individuate myself. I've learned up until now how certain things operate and how certain things exist, and I've been sort of surrendering a lot of my own personality to a more grander scheme of how things operate within the world, within your career, within, your family life, whatever. And now you feel like there's, well, you don't even feel, it's more like an energy impulse that says, I need to break free. I need to individuate. I need to like radically change my identity in this situation. I have my own ideas. I have my own perception of stuff, and I want to see where that goes. So when I teach my students in the aspects and phases class, the story I use for this angle is somebody has been working at a law firm for 10 years, and they begin to recognize that some of the ideas and some of their perspectives are unique to them, and they would like to start integrating these ideas into the collective that is not under a canopy of people that created the law firm that they're working with before. So they want to say, okay, thanks very much for all of the knowledge that I gained from this, all of the wisdom experience, but I want to go open up my own practice, and I want to call it this, and this is the essential need that I want to define it as. And we feel that sense of breaking away and liberating and going our own way and finding out what is there for us, So this energy between Pluto and Venus really helps us allow those dynamics. But of course, mechanically speaking, this energy can be very disruptive, right? Because of course, Pluto is deep unconscious memory of violations of abuse and abandonment and betrayal and loss and all of the messed up things that could have happened to you in prior lifetimes and in this lifetime. So when any planet contacts Pluto, it's guaranteed that you're going to feel a sense that even if it was not even part of this lifetime, there can be woundedness that comes up. There can be deep disempowerment that comes up. And we have to process those deep emotions, those deep feelings. And it's very easy for us during this period of time to feel that these big feelings that come up for us right now are uncontrollable. When it involves Pluto, you've got to know that our personality, this ego identity, sometimes gets overwhelmed by these deep unconscious memories. The wave moves through us like that. So it's essential that during this time with the square that's taking place, I mean, we're on the 27th right now, and of course that square will be moving on. It's going to be a lot easier to integrate that awareness of, okay, I've made this choice right now, I've made this cut. And I know that in the full moon article that is posted on our Patreon, one of the titles that I used for the square was the cutting edge of evolution. And it's like things are just being cut and just being saying, this is the boundary, this is where I want this is where I don't want it. And each of us, every single one of us, had an opportunity during this full moon to really exercise that. And what was really fascinating about the experience, it was all interconnected. Every single person was deeply interconnected with this. One person makes a boundary cut over there and it affects the other person, and that person gets their emotions and that gets brought to the surface, and they say, okay, this is what I'm comfortable with and I'm not comfortable with, So there's this beautiful dance that takes place between, both Mars and Venus making strong contact to Pluto, and how Pluto in Capricorn was really playing a big role in reshaping and redefining the context of how we wish to relate to each other, how we wish to relate to life according to our own personal discovery of what is healthy for us and not, And of course, with the sun moving into Virgo at this stage, this is a big deal because, Virgo is the archetype where, as in terms of, evolutionary speaking, Virgo helps us really get clear on things. It helps us ask questions to ourselves and to the environment we're existing within, and says, is this healthy for us? Do we want this? And we begin to use the Virgo precision to, in a sense, make clear decisions, right? Clear cuts around what we feel is healthy for us and not. So I don't think that it's, a random situation that while Mars and Pluto are making this contact to each other, and Mars is saying, okay, this is the direction I want to encourage everybody to go in, that's correct for them. And Venus says, what can I support in cutting away what is not essential? What certain values do I feel are not for me anymore? And the sun then in Virgo says, okay, well, I'll give you the precision to allow you to make these clean cuts and to complete the cycle and to say, hey, you know, this experience was wonderful for me. I learned this, and now the cycle's come to an end, and let's move on, you know? Let's change our pattern, and we continue with the dance of life, which is this interaction between our ego sense of self, which is this personality that we've developed and experienced and cultivated, and whatever the neutrino stream is pulling through to us, you know, whatever the soul is wanting for us to see and to witness and to experience, you know. Now, what's really fascinating to me about this this full moon as well is that there's this beautiful Earth trine that's taking place between, of course, Saturn retrograde in Capricorn at 2 degrees, and Uranus is sitting there at 2 degrees Taurus. So there's a direct trine happening here between the Saturn and the Uranus dynamic. And then you also have Virgo, which is sitting at 3, i.e. the sun sitting at 3, so it's just a little bit off of it. And this energy is very, very, very healthy, I think, in terms of the context of the rest of the planetary energies. I feel if you look at the chart here and you look at the aspects that were being made at that time, you know, there's a lot going on. So I think this Earth trine really supported us to feel balanced and grounded during this configuration, this full moon. And on a deeper level, you know, you can see here that when we reshape ourselves, when we say, okay, this is the direction we've been going in, this is what we want with our lives, Mars comes along and says, okay, I'm going to go retrograde for a bit, and I'm going to get you to think about what you want to do with your time, what you want to do with your direction. And when the full moon in Pisces happens, we'll complete a cycle. You'll say enough is enough. We'll say, I'm finished this over here. And then the day after, which is the 27th, Mars will come along and say, okay, let's go. Let's go into that new direction. You know, let's move in that direction. And then Earth trine just says very, very, very beautifully, just says, okay, let's set the sails. Let's ground this. Let's move. This is where we're going to invest our time. Because the Earth trine is all about time. You know, Capricorn is time in the context of what it represents. Virgo is the awareness of each moment. And Taurus says to us, well, how do we feel that? How do we sense that? How do we sense each moment? And how do we define each moment? You know, Saturn, definition. Virgo, the ability to recognize that in each moment, there is a step-by-step process. So that if we look at a watch, for instance, and we say, okay, it's now 5 past, 10 past, you know, 10 seconds. And we have literally built the watch, the clock, with the Earth trine. So it's a slowing down, measuring process. Yeah, it's one of the ways that we felt here that how do we want to ground this energy? How do we want to establish the new direction for us? And how much time does that take? What is the timing on it? And we might not necessarily need to know that at this point in time. Well, the only thing that we really need to recognize is this going to support, you know, do we feel supported in this process? Do we feel that this is the direction that we want to go? And is this what we want to value our time with? You know, it's limited. So, you know, Jupiter sitting in Scorpio, it's doing its thing over there. It's squaring the North Node, it's squaring the South Node, of course. So naturally speaking, you know, there's a tension dynamic around still trying to get really deep within the context of any emotional states of disempowerment, you know, trying to recognize within inside of yourself what types of choices you can make that really empower you. And this is just a cleansing, you know. And Jupiter really just supports us around reconfiguring our truth. And we're getting to the core of it, right? What is the core of your truth? Why do you believe the things you believe? What is the faith behind what you believe? These are the types of dynamics that Jupiter squaring the nodes is reflecting to us. Of course, the nodes themselves reflect a sort of funnel, you know, an arc of evolutionary movement. And so naturally speaking, when you've got a planet like Jupiter or Pluto or Saturn, you know, Venus, etc., making contact to the nodes, you know that there's an aspect of that planet that is very crucial to integrating into whatever choices you're making about your future. So for a lot of us, it's commitment. It's saying, okay, well, I've cut away this over here. This is no longer supporting that process over there, and I feel this way about this. And now I know that I'm going to re-empower myself, or I don't even want to use the word re-empowerment, actually. It's more about committing and saying, okay, we're committing to this path, we're committing to that storyline, and progressively we will experience things that will support us along the road, whatever that might be. And just to witness those experiences come up for you in your story. Okay, so I hope that that you guys got something out of this full moon experience today. And as I said before, please share with me your story on the comments below in the actual YouTube comment section. And I'm sure a lot of people love to read other people's stories and get validation. This is all about also uniting people in Australia, people in South America, the States, all over. They can recognize, wow, I'm not alone in this experience. So I'm excited to hear what that story is about. So if you just give me a moment, I'm going to go ahead and check at our questions that are sitting on Patreon, and also have a look at what's been happening on the actual chat in Google as well. So let me move this to this part of the screen over here so that I can see it. Okay. Cool. So I can see in the chat over there, lots of people have been experiencing things that have been similar to what I've been sharing. I'm glad to hear that. Lots of people happy full moon experience. Excellent. Happy to hear that you got something out of this, Daniel. Yeah, happy Mars Direct for everybody, of course. Absolutely. New exciting experiences. Okay, so let me go over to Patreon, and let's just see if we've got some questions here that people have got. Okay. So Liddy was actually writing, she was saying, hi Simon, as many Pluto and Virgos have their polarity point in Pisces, and often Chiron too, did this full moon have an effect, have a special layer for us? And yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really a good question, to be honest. So for those of you that were born with Pluto and Virgo, this was a very monumental time for you. Most of you will have Neptune in Scorpio. So of course, Jupiter's transiting over your Neptune, whether it had already happened or it's about to happen. Like I said, it's the Pluto and Scorpio, Pluto and in Virgo, the moon moving through there. Absolutely, this was a very crucial time for you. The context of the Pluto and Virgos is that you are part of the wave in this evolutionary cycle where you're witnessing with all of us, but you're witnessing the progressive decay of the old paradigm of thinking, of being, of the structure that it means to be human. You're part of the story in a very big way. And so for you, this full moon brought a lot of completion in your life. And I'm super excited to hear, what you, as the Pluto and Virgos are out there, what types of experiences you've had that have really allowed you to feel a completion cycle. I think if I go deeper into the experience, go deeper into the layering of what it means to understand a context, a global cycle coming to an end, it has to do with, the values that society holds and what it feels as a collective. What is the intention? And a lot of the time, I mean, ultimately, it really comes down to how the fabric of evolution is working for us beyond our personality. We're just along for the ride, really. And, wherever we're born within the context of that, forward-moving pulse of creative expression that is the source, then we're just going to reflect that, And so where we are right now in this current context with these energy alignments, it is Pluto through Capricorn. And that is just saying, hey, we once did this. This is how we once lived. This is what was important for us at this stage. This is what constituted correct behavior and essential for the, you know, the needs for humanity to survive and what was correct for us. I mean, how many of you at this point in time use a handheld, not a handheld telephone, but an actual telephone that's plugged into the wall, you know, with a cord on it? It's it's a very foreign concept. Most of us use, you know, mobile telephones to interact with the world. The internet is what's giving me the opportunity to sit here, stare at a webcam with a microphone in front of me and babble a random, you know, a bunch of stuff and you know, just be sort of joyful in the sense that, oh, okay, cool, I like this. You know, there's a lot of changes that have taken place for us. There's a deep, you know, reorientation around what it means to be human. And along with that change comes, of course, the surrender of old paradigm thinking, and new paradigm thinking, it gets integrated. And so we're sort of simultaneously letting go of stuff and kind of rinsing out old paradigm ways of being, and not rooted in survival, but more along the lines of what is creatively purposeful for you. Not needing to feel as if you need to sacrifice your time in order to meet the needs of other people's visions and agendas, but more along the lines of just being, you know, creative in your own process and here to see what it means to be individual for yourself. And so the context of Pluto Virgos, you guys, you know, grew up during a time in which most of your life was in that old paradigm dynamic. And, you know, when Uranus entered Aries and a bunch of other planetary energy started to take place, you know, this progressive shift happened. And you start to notice that a lot of you with this generation have a lot of freedom to go and explore the thing that you wanted to do, maybe, or that you didn't even know that you wanted to do, you know, when you were younger. So there's a lot of healing that takes place here around reorientation, around those values, and, you know, a lot of self-reflected empathy. And this is a time for you to shine and to really come into yourself. You know, what does it mean to be you? What does it mean to witness the world from your point of view? And do you feel like you've got something to contribute? If you feel that it supports, you know, whatever, there's no boundary on it. You know, each of us, at least from my perspective, my personal subjective point of view, is that I feel that we as human beings, at a biological level, are yet to witness the integration of consciousness. You know, to witness what happens when we integrate consciousness into our physical form, and what that alchemical transmutation looks like. And through that process of mutation within ourselves, we have awareness to contribute, and it kind of just spreads. And that's one of the perceptions that I have, that I feel is what we are here to do at a more multidimensional level. In other words, something that's outside the conditioning of what we as human beings think it is about, you know. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that. A lot of people are recognizing this within themselves and seeing that there's something deeper here, there's something more. And we've been focusing a lot on an external perception of reality, and not really excavating the internal sense of self, and being curious as to know what that internally is for us. So as we kind of awaken and open those deeper layers of self, and we open more layers of who we are and what it means to be us, we allow ourselves to see that there's actually quite a lot of infiniteness that we can explore. And, you know, it doesn't mean that we completely go the opposite way and we isolate from the world, because it can be very easy to isolate yourself from the world because you can't relate to it. I mean, that's the danger of the other side of the story here, you know. So naturally speaking, the deeper you go into yourself, the deeper you need to know that there must be a connection outwardly as well. And this is, of course, a very sort of important process in understanding your experience. You know, how does that relate to the world? How does that interact with the rest of the organization that is this human experience? You know, So yeah, I hope that that responds to your question, Lydia, in a way that not only helps yourself but also helps the rest of those of you that have got that symbolism. The last thing that I wanted to say onto that was very important was that, you know, your generation also carries that Chiron and Pisces, where they can tend to feel as if with that Chiron there's that woundedness, you know, that deep sensitivity of, you know, if chaos reigns, you know, how do we deal with stuff, you know? It's natural to feel that when the boundaries of security and safety are being rattled through an earthquake or through a deep psychological reorganization that is yourself, then, and is the collective, i.e., okay, well, before we were doing things this way, and now all of a sudden we're doing things that way, and that means that you have to learn how to use an app as an example. It learns, you know, there's a new learning curve, and that can feel deeply uncomfortable. So that Chiron and Pisces can be that sensitivity to engaging in a new world in which there feels as if, wow, I'm overwhelmed here. I don't know what this is about, you know? Okay. All right, let's have a look over here. So, you know, Liddy, let me know if that that helps you process that, and anybody else that's on the stream at the moment. Okay, so Kaminda, you've got a question, and you're saying that you have, okay, you've got Lilith, it's in Virgo, and you're saying that it's in opposition to your sun sign, okay? And you're saying being attentive to my sensations and intuitive perceptions, I feel a kind of healing about my relation with my body. I felt the need of liberation and a certain liberation of a certain body low self-esteem, and surprisingly find me saying, I love you, my body. Well, that's exactly it. You literally answered your own question there in that dynamic when you talked about Lilith being in Virgo and, you know, opposite the natal sun. This is you giving space for yourself to heal. You know, Virgo is a lot about shame as well, you know. In our fabric of reality, because fear has been a predominant dynamic that helps, you know, fear is a predominant dynamic that keeps us locked into making decisions where we don't feel creative enough to be risky, you know, to take life and say, hey, I'm going to be risky over here, I'm going to take a chance. Virgo comes in and kind of, through the consistent reintegration and not reintegration, sorry, the word is, when we consistently have the pattern reinforced to us that we should be shameful of something, or that this is wrong in doing, when it comes to our relationship to our body, you know, this is of course something that we have to purify out of ourselves, and it's a big process, you know. I highly encourage everybody to go and look at the work of, I think her name is Bethany Williams, and she does what is called the mother wound. She's really pioneering a lot of the work in that over there. She's very empowering to a lot of women that are trying to work through a lot of lifetimes of shame under the patriarchal oppression. You know, she helps deal with that emotional complex and layering that we have had to use, you know, or to interact with, that we never felt was correct for us, that, you know, our family traits and the psychological conditioning that comes with that. So I highly encourage you to go check that out. And in relationship to your question over there, Commander, it's a very, very important thing to actually acknowledge that there's a sensation of, hey, I love you, body. I love the nature of what it means to be you. I respect your physicalness. This is the earth trine that's coming out here again, you know. So I see a question over here in the live chats in Google, and it says, I think it's from Bobo, and you're saying, unfortunately, you can't hear your live stream. That's not something that's on my end, right? Because I see that my microphone's working over here, and I've seen that nobody has mentioned to me that you know, that there's any audio errors. So is this something that's just specific to you because you maybe are at work or something? Just let me know in the comments if you guys can actually hear me speaking. That would be appreciative. Okay. All right, so Jaclyn, you're actually saying, can you explain why imagination cannot usually manifest in reality just as we see it? Uh, okay. That that's an interesting question because for any of you that have got Mars in Pisces, any of you that have got Mars in Pisces, um, that's pretty much how it works. You know, you can kind of like imagine a process occurring, and it generally, the soul actually feels complete within that cycle. You know, you don't actually can like, oh, it'd be so amazing to just go to this place over here, and because of the nature of Mars and Pisces, there's this app that, you know, you can feel viscerally that desire, and the soul can actually create, like actually have an experience of, ah, I complete that in that sense. um all right. So yes, Jaclyn, I got your question on there, and I want to address it now. So you say, like I said, can you explain why imagination cannot usually manifest in reality just as we see it? Okay. So then you go, could you speak to imagination and vision and the childlike innocence of this? Okay. All right. And you say, and then the disappointment that occurs when this doesn't manifest. I wonder if I should allow myself to get excited anymore about something upcoming. Okay. Um, I I'm not entirely clear on what I think it is that you're asking me over here or sharing. So uh, you know, I just want to try and see if I connect with this. Let me know if I am understanding what you're sharing over here, right? You're saying that you're basically saying that it's sometimes imagination or the feeling of getting excited or allowing imagination to be, you know, it's present in a non-physical form, and you can connect to that, and then when you connect to that, sometimes the reality of the situation is different, and really at the end of the day, when those type of experiences don't really materialize in that sense, you can feel like maybe even futility as an example, right? You know, the imagination, vision, like childlike innocence, and then you get disappointed when it doesn't occur or manifest in that way. Is this something like, oh, I would love to travel to this place, and then it doesn't manifest? Is it something that's an active manifest, that like a desire to actually okay, so this is a cool question. I like it, and you know, this actually points to the energy of the full moon at the moment, and of course actually a lot of the energies that have been taking place in human design. There are two channels. There is the or not two channels. There's two gates. Okay, what the first gate is sits in the root, and it's gate 41. Okay, and then the other gate sits in the 35, which is in the throat. And for those of you that follow human design, you'll understand what I mean, and I'll be clearer on what I'm talking about here. These two gates reflect the context of, or reflect what is called the human experiential way. Okay, to experience life, to go through life, and to understand, to have this experience basically, right? And this experiential way starts off with the start codon 41, and it says, I I desire something. I desire to experience it. I don't know what it is, but I desire to experience it. I have this fantasy. You know, for me, I have my design sun, design earth in that 41. So, you know, part of my design is so much about feeling excited about the potential of an experience. And I also have then, right at the other top of the charts, the 35 is the feeling of being full. Okay, I feel full after this experience. I feel like, it's come to completion, and there's wisdom out of it, right? So genetically speaking, there's these two dynamics that sits within our lives, where it starts at Pisces. You know, it's fantasy, it's imagination, it's like, oh, the potential of this. But the thing that happens is, when you look at the chart, Neptune in Pisces, Moon in Pisces, you'll see that there are two green lines being made from the Moon and Neptune all the way to Mercury in the North Node, okay, in Leo. So when you look at Jaclyn's questions, she talks about childlike innocence. That inconjunct, that 150-degree angle between Pisces and Leo is where childlike innocence materializes. Because in Leo, the energy is not objective. It's not looking out at the other. It's deeply inward. And the imagination of the child is held within the Pisces realm because there's no boundaries. There's no definition. It's not the context of the energy that is held within Pisces is so unifying that ultimately what it's going to define itself as, what it's going to materialize as, will never really truly be what it truly is. So in gate 41, as the pressure comes out of the start codon, it comes out and it meets gate 30, which is in the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is the crisis. It's the fates. It meets the fates. So what happens is that when we want to experience something, when we dream of something, when we want to materialize something, what we have within inside of ourselves can never be fully experienced in time because we have to go through the Capricorn function. We have to go through the allowance of what the fate is going to be. And the fate is what truly dictates to us what the experience and what the vision and what the moment is going to be like for us, right? So it goes and it meets the fates. So I go, oh man, I just want to go out into the store. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many times it happens to me, right? Because like I said, I've got that gate, it's activated inside of myself. So the pressure to move, I go, okay, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to collect all of these things. I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. And I imagine it in my head. It's like all imagined, right? It's going to be so amazing. And true as nuts, I'll get to the store and 9 or 8 out of 10 times, how I imagined it and what was actually going to happen were two completely different things because I meet the world. And the world is other people's streams, other people's stories, other people's, you can just experience the chaos that's materializing here. So the energy moves from Pisces all the way to Capricorn. And it hits the Capricorn archetype, and the child, in its innocence, says, wow, this is how I imagine it subjectively. But because I've gone through Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sag, I'm now hitting the Capricorn, and Capricorn is reality. So it's like, this is what it actually is. And I've met the other in Libra. What was the relationship to the other? I've met the crisis in Virgo. I've felt the disempowerment or empowerment, whatever it might be, in Scorpio. And in the Sag archetype, the experience is, oh, that was an interesting journey I went on. So what will happen for me is I'll go to the store, and this is I literally get to the store and I'm like, I'm timing myself, right? Because, this is what I've got to do with my existence. I'll time myself through and I'm like, oh, I got everything. And I get to the counter to pay. And there's a person in front of me that literally has got little coins in their hand and a receipt. And they point backwards and they go, I just purchased 5 of these bubblegum, packets. And you are telling me that you're selling them for this, but when you actually put it into the till, you charged me this. And so I would like a refund of the difference between what you charged me and what you're telling me you're putting it on sale for, which came to something like $1. That was the difference. And I was like, I don't believe I'm stuck behind this experience. I literally went through this whole entire thing, zoomed past it, got everything I wanted, because usually in a shop, it never happens. I'll go there and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go get this. And I get to the store and they don't have that one ingredient and it just breaks. And I'm just like, brilliant. Now I have to travel to another place. And I had everything there and I get to the counter and I'm just about to, here's the 5 things that I needed to buy. And here's this person going, this is what my issue is. And I'm stuck behind them for 10 minutes because they have to call a manager to redo the till. And it's like this. And I'm like, can't believe it. Can't believe this is happening. This is this dynamic. It's like you meet the fates, you meet the experience, and the reality of it is Scorpios is what it really turned out to be. And so when the energy completes itself all the way back from Capricorn to Pisces, we dissolve into the imagination again. And the difference is what I imagined versus the reality and the wisdom I got out of it. This is the human experimental way, right? It's just starts with a vision and ends with wisdom. And in between, there's a crisis and a reality check. So I hope that in some way brought some you know, just entertainment to that question. That was a really cool question. All right. So, Commander, thanks very much. Appreciate that. Yep, you've got Mars in Cancer. That's right, Jaclyn. But for those of you that have got Mars in Pisces, you'll know. Okay. Let's see what else. Monica, you don't have any questions over there. I'm going to refresh the thing, and to everybody that's awesome. That's awesome. You are. Everybody that's on the stream. Hello. How you guys doing? Okay. 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 Now speaking of reality, what is real? What is reality? Haha. There's that Mars in the ninth house question, and my openness can't resist the question. My Sagittarius can't resist answering that question. I think, at the end of the day, it's a very, very big open-ended discussion that I think it depends on what you're looking at, really, and how what you consider, how you define, what are the parameters that you're going to use to define reality to be, and at the end of the day, I think it's deeply individual. I suppose you could do things like you could define reality as, well, if it's something that you can touch and you can feel viscerally with your fingers over there, then of course it exists in reality, and so therefore it's real. And then you can talk to somebody that's taken sort of ayahuasca or used any forms of jungle medicine and gone to different states of awareness and recognize that there are other fabrics and layers of realities that are existing when you open up your third eye, and that's reality there. So I suppose that the question in its most simplest form is, reality is whatever it is to you. And secondly, reality is the construct that is this existence. It is the fabric of the neutrinos just moving through, and the energy, the cycles are just moving through. It locks us into a program, and we run the course of the program. And for most of you that I suspect are watching this, you probably do what I do, which is get a bunch of popcorn, sit and watch the show take place, and giggle at your own hallucination. Exactly. Giggle at your own hallucination. And go, oh, this is what I'm seeing over here at this point in time, because that's me, that's my perception of truth as it is for me. And I suppose it's a deep question that can lead to a lot of rabbit holes being opened. And at the end of the day, I suppose it just depends on if you can ground yourself into what is happening for you right now. You can easily be completely abused, be in an abusive relationship and use a Pisces disassociative technique to deal with that and say, oh, the person just might be, struggling with themselves. Whereas, quote unquote, the actual Saturn reality is, hold on, I'm being abused in this situation. I need to get out of this situation. This is not healthy for me. And, so yeah. So I personally don't like to go down rabbit holes because I think it does nothing apart from open you up to the vortex of infinite potential, which is what this is. This is everything you want it to be. It can be, but there are limitations on Earth. It's limitations in the physical plane. Like, for instance, I would love to just say, okay, well, I'm going to fly over to the States right now and do a whole entire, go travel the States and talk about astrology and, meet everybody that's over there, or travel to Australia and do that stuff, and it just instantly happen. And it doesn't. There are certain limitations. And I suppose I could open up the question around how energy is the way that we, when you have a lot of energy, you invest that energy and time becomes faster. So yeah. Okay. Let's have a look. Any other questions that's sitting on Patreon over there? What's the time? Does anybody know how long this stream's been going on for, by the way? I'll check to see. Not really sure. So did everybody find something useful in this conversation? I know I asked the question. I know that people do say, say that they do. I know, and I suppose that maybe what I'm wanting to ask is, do you want me to continue a little bit more? I do have a little bit more sacral energy that I feel I can talk about. So I'm happy to do that. So Jaclyn, you're saying, yeah, seeing and feeling beyond Saturn reality, I'm often aware of. That's right. But again, it doesn't do anything. It's like we can be deeply aware of the cosmic dust that is existing beyond this physical form. But if your body wakes up and says, hey, buddy, I'm bleeding, and you go, the magic fairies are going to help me, good luck to you. It's important to really nurse a healthy relationship between the ego self, which is this personality that we have here, and those psychological dynamics, and inspiration. Inspiration to extract something that's coming from the ether, and then integrating it into yourself as a way of transmutation, as I was sharing with you earlier. Okay. Hi, Sala. How are you doing? And I see that you're on the stream and you've been chatting quite a lot. Hope you're well. I see that you're saying EA is an extraordinary tool to ground and connect with the soul. That's right, absolutely. And helpful in connecting in many ways. I'm glad to hear that. Bob, I see my Mars is in the first house in Sagittarius retrograde. So you've been definitely exploring your own truth in prior lifetimes with that retrograde over there. And I think you might want to, you're probably a little bit hesitant to explore things before checking in your intention. Let's have a look. Ellen, Bobo sees people just talking over here. You've also shared dreams with people, but my chart is heavy Gemini, as are the folks I have shared my dreams with. Okay. Constanza, you say that your Mars is in Pisces square Venus in Gemini. So the question to ask yourself is, make sure that you're in alignment with people that are very honest with you. It can be easy to say to you, hey, Constanza, this is an amazing experience. You're going to win all of these prizes. And you're like, yeah. And it's like, and then you come to the reality and you're like, hold on. There were certain things I missed because I was so excited about the excitement of it. Hey, Cameron, how you doing? Excited to have you on this this talk. Okay. Catherine, we need and want your physical presence. No one has your effective way of speaking. Physically come here, I'll help. Definitely in the future. I definitely want to do that. I think for myself and Jen, we would probably be in our element if we had the opportunity to travel a little bit and teach some of the stuff that we're passionate about, Okay. So come over to Patreon and just check if there's stuff over there. I've actually finished, by the way, the whole presentation on the astrology of narcissism. And at some point, as soon as I've got some space, I will sit down and I'll record it. But the presentation's done, PDF with all the slides and everything, and I'm really excited to actually do it, to be honest. I've been mulling this over for the last probably 3 months, and I feel like it's a really great opportunity to help astrologers, as well as any of you that are wanting to understand this phenomena in a way that sees, just connects with it. I suppose there's different ways of connecting with healing this dynamic, and for me, I'm interested in it, and I've gone through the journey, am in the journey of doing that. So I'd like to share my astrological perspective. Okay, we've got another question. Hi, Jennifer. It's Jennifer. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Thanks very much. Great information. Everything resonates with where you are. Right. Happy to hear that. Happy to hear that. And Carol, how are you doing, Carol? Let's have a look. So you've got, hi Simon, the full moon was the same degree as my natal north node, and the first eclipse Cancer, the same degree as my natal sun. Wow. So you've probably had some really, really intense experiences, in the sense that you've been comically sensitive to, whatever it is that you've been having to work through in this lifetime. And I suspect that you've probably got a lot out of the last 3 months, with all the activations that were happening on your chart. So, I suspect some big changes for you with those dynamics. The heart of America is Ohio. Star countries, the heart of Ohio. um, New Way, New Wave Queen Christian. Cool name. Like that. I've got Mars and Scorpio in the second, and been doing a lot of internal work on personal value and reconstructing my way of survival. Excellent. And your North Node's conjunct Sad. So, of course, you've been dealing a lot with working through what you consider your faith to be. Okay, let's have a look. I'm glad to hear you good, Jennifer. Let's have, see there. Charlotte, what is the astrological energy? What astrological energy helps us process old patterns and repeating dreams now? Can you help me with that question a little bit more? What astrological energies help us to process old patterns in repeating dreams now? You know, the Earth Trine plays a very important role in that, I suppose. Of course, I'm not really sure, to be honest. My immediate response is Aquarius, because Aquarius is, the function of the brain. Aquarius is actually both the left and the right hemisphere. When they're connected, they create what is called an energy connection, and the spark that materializes from the left and right brain, abstract and cognitive logical thinking. When that creates a connection, it creates the formation of the brain electricity. And so Uranus will be the background processing of whatever it is that you've been absorbing, Saturn and Mercury. So Mercury, Saturn, Aquarius will all correlate to how you actually process reality. And then Neptune will be, the nature of how you're taking that in. So I could be, for instance, reading certain books at this stage, and that's coming into my awareness, and then depending on the form of conditioning that I have Saturn and the way I'm intellectualizing it, that is what's the word I was looking for? Mercury, how you've labeling that, and then of course Aquarius being the higher mind, the subconscious mind. Those two dynamics, all of those dynamics will help you process at that stage. Okay, clearing. All right, so Aquarius bridging Pisces and Capricorn energy right now. Yes, that's how I feel. Yeah, Aquarius was my intuitive hit straight away when I understood that. Bobo, you're saying you are a projector in your human design. Awesome. Yeah, welcome to all the projectors out there. I highly encourage you to look at other people and how they're doing things to get a good sense of who you are, and understand that. Okay. So, there we go, Monica. Welcome. So, Mr. Talk, I have a question. The full moon is the same degrees as my natal Saturn, and very close to my opposite Uranus. I felt the quick of the new I just felt the quick of new energy today. Feel like a new ways of defining relationships to myself. Excellent. That is exactly what that energy is about. If it's contacting your sun and Mars is going through you right now, of course, this is a completely new orientation. Like I shared earlier, this is an orientation to a new direction, new sense of self. We're coming up here and we're saying, okay, this is how we're going to do things in this way. This is how I'm going to do things. And this is highly effective for all of us, and for you, of course, as well, in how that process works. Yes, absolutely. Aquarius bridging the gaps. Yeah. And I think that a Uranus being in Taurus and Jupiter being in Scorpio is what contributes to the process of, dealing with these subconscious memories that we carry with us, releasing those dynamics, Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus really fracturing the body, opening it up, allowing that release to take place, to move your body, to feel more free in it. And Jupiter is really, really going to this core of it and saying, yeah, pull out this weed. And then, of course, because of these energies squaring the nodes right now, it's part of our evolutionary trajectory. Spoken like a true manifester. Excellent, great. I'm going to be kicking ass right now. Gotta go, bye. So let's have a look. Okay. All right, so Bobo, your theory is that I'm just slightly in the future, that I live consciousness wise into the future, just a bit, so I'm not actually manifesting, but I'm seeing the future before it happens and following it. Cool. Yeah, that's a really, really cool thing to do, because of course you're, from your perspective, you're feeling as if you're in touch with that next step, just as it's, it's just about to materialize, and you're kind of just following your own lead. That's pretty cool, to experience that. Yeah, it does make sense. Absolutely. Robert, you're going, what does it mean to have Uranus transiting Venus in Taurus square the South Node transiting natal moon in Aquarius? So you have your natal moon in Aquarius and you have your natal Venus in Taurus. Okay, so what does it mean to have Uranus transiting Venus in Taurus? So you have natal Venus in Taurus and you have natal moon in Aquarius. So you're naturally having this tension. Well, the way that I would see that immediately is, each of us has an identity. In this identity, we have the certain conditions and the truths that our family have passed on to us, and that perception of truth, that identity that we've used, validates our reality. And part of that is, what are these values? What is essential for me right now? So with Uranus making a connection over there, it's revealing to you that this is a time in which you're going to have a lot of things come to the surface and shake things up and say, do I want this? Do I want this? Do I want that? And you're probably be dealing with a lot of prior life memories coming to the surface around feelings of, survival and fear. Can I do this? What is my self-worth like? And really just getting to the core of it and saying, what do I want with my time? And that's what intuitively comes up with me with that question. Okay. Okay. All right. So I think this is going to be my last question, everybody. And I'm going to go on to, and it says, I like the discussion of the role of Aquarius, bridge now, and the role of Chiron in relation to aspects. So I like the discussion of Aquarian bridge. Now, the role of Chiron in relation to aspects. Like I was talking to the students yesterday in intermediate class, Chiron is an energy that helps us nurture and sew together the subconscious memories held in Uranus and the developing sense of self that you have as Saturn. So every one of us has a personality, okay? And we have certain personality traits and we have certain ways of being that have been conditioned by our life. If you grew up in poverty, as an example, you're most likely going to have some psychological relations and triggers towards feeling as if you might not have enough. And you might feel like if you come into an environment, your psychology might say, I need to make sure I can store, because the feelings of survival from early life are imprinted in me. That's the Saturn realm. The Uranian realm is, how does that permeate into, so how does the subconscious memories permeate into your sense of self, right? How do those prior memories of growing up in poverty affect your decisions in the moment? And Chiron is helping you bridge a gap between liberating yourself from the conditions of early life environment and being free from them. And then so by doing that, allowing yourself to individuate, right? To recognize that the path you came into is what you're releasing, and the path that will become your individuation process post 40 is completely different. And so Chiron is that relationship to recognizing how you can be sensitive to the subconscious memories, okay? Awesome. All right, my friends, thank you so much for this time over here. I appreciate me being able to be of service in some way. I love the Q&A experience, lots actually, to be honest. So if you like this, make sure to share it with loads of people. Hit the like button as you normally do. If you would like to check out what I do on Patreon, come over to Patreon. There's a link in the description. And other than that, have a wonderful full moon experience, peeps. Okay? Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.